here's what we're going to dive in today. We're going to jump into this, and I have a whiteboard presentation for you guys today. So it is, what do you do when a client says the price? So I'm going to answer this for you by giving you a story of a client that I photographed for $400 per hour for 4 hours. So that's a $1,600 shoot. No videos, like no extra picture add-ons, just the photo session for a guy and his wife who wanted pictures done for themselves for their church. Now, a little bit about me. So my background, as I was telling you before, is 10 years in photography. What I do, I specialize in branding photography. So I work with companies and I work with individuals. So that may be CEOs, business leaders, speakers, coaches, and consultants. And I help them create images that they can use to form connections with their audiences, that they can use for their website updates, product launches, store launches, or rebranding. That is what I specialize in, and that's what I do right around the clock. So just to, I'll just cross their name out, even though it's already there. But here's the shoot, $1,600. And as you can see right here, the shoot was 4 hours. And then it was nothing special. It's just a photo shoot, but for $1,600. How did this happen? Now, there's a few things that happen when a client comes up and they say to you, what's the price? Typically, they don't know what they want, or they're looking for the best price that they could get, or it could just be a signal that they're open to being educated about how the process actually works. Now, one thing to remember is that all clients are not the same. Some of us treat all clients the same and we don't get the results that we want. And there's a funny thing that happens in a creative business as well too. And that is this over here, right? So most of the time we're not getting enough leads. So when that person comes and they're like, hey, what's the price? We're so excited. We just hand them over the price. And then the client was like, oh, okay, cool. I'll think about it. You don't know what they want. They don't know what they want. And so they're confused. And most people aren't going to be upfront and tell you, hey, I don't really know what I want. And this price may be too high. And I don't even know if this price is enough for what I'm asking. So they're just going to say, I'm going to think about it. The next portion, 99% of leads are unqualified. This is just the fact of the marketplace. It doesn't matter what business you're in. It doesn't matter what side of the industry you're in. Most people are not going to be able to afford your product or service. That is just what it is. It's not anything that you could change, but it's something that you can prepare for by having alternative options for people that aren't ready to buy a premium. Next, no one knows who you are. And because no one knows who you are, you don't get any leads. And then as a result of that, your business eventually fails. Lastly, all your clients are from referrals. This is a place where most photographers find themselves in. And because they pride themselves on word of mouth marketing, the businesses that they grow are only a certain size. They can't have it replace their income from their job. They relegate themselves to hustling or being a part-time photographer, and they never get to really build a photography business of their dreams. And then if they're lucky enough to realize it, the problem is actually themselves, because they haven't taken the time to research, to practice, to invest in coaching, to invest in lessons, to buy business books, to really learn how it is to sell. So knowing how to shoot is one thing, but then actually being able to facilitate a client experience is another thing. Let me know if that is making sense so far, so we have a scenery of where this conversation is going. So there is two concepts here, right? First one is what I call the virtuous cycle of pricing, where there's three questions I typically think through. So when that client came to me and they said, "Hey, Jordi, I want to do pictures," and they're like, "Yeah, like we go to events sometimes, we're getting invited out places, so we just want some pictures." So I said to them, "Okay, you just want some pictures. So since you guys are pastors, do you want us to get a Bible and take some pictures in front of a podium?" "Oh, no, 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 Jordy. We don't want to look like the stereotypical pastors." I'm like, "Okay. So that means you don't just want some pictures. So let's talk about that some more. How do you want to be presented?" "Well, actually, Jordan, we're like a little mix of non-traditional with a little mix of modern, and we really try to meet people where they are with the word without going too much, like we're not going to play hip hop in our church, Jordy, but we are going to be able to relay messages to people in a way that's relevant to them. There's social media, there's the music that they're listening to, there's the style of dressing, the shows that they're watching. We're going to relate with those things, but we're going to keep it to the word." So I said, "Okay, so you do want to be shown a certain way." And then they're like, "Yeah." So I said, and so now that they've told me that they don't want to look like the traditional huckster pastor that's holding the Bible with the cross, so I said to them, "Why don't you want to look like that?" And they said, "Well, Jordy, we don't want to look like a stereotypical huckster pastor that looks like they're going to scam people out of their tithes." I was like, "I mean, some people look like that and they make a lot of money." And they're like, "Well, we don't want to be associated with that." So we've established two things. We know that they want pictures. We know that it's very important to them that they don't look like the traditional pastors. And then I said, "Well, how soon do you guys want to do this?" And then they said, "We want to get this done in the next 30 days. So there's three things that we did by asking those three questions. One, we uncovered how important these pictures are. A lot of the times clients are going to downplay the importance of a project, and they think that they're going to be able to do that because they want to save money. They think that by underselling what they're doing, that it's gonna just cause it to be, like just a photo shoot. But it's never just pictures. If it was just pictures, you wouldn't do it and you take it on your iPhone and you'd send out those iPhone pictures on those flyers. Here's another question I asked them. Why isn't taking the pictures on your iPhone good enough? It's like, "Well, Jordy, we actually used to do that in the past. And when we did that in the past, when they blew up the pictures, all our pictures were blurry and they didn't really look that good. And we're professionals, we've been doing this for a while. We even coach people in relationship counseling." So I've established in their mind the importance of this photo shoot. So now it's, "Oh, I just want some pictures." I took them from there and then I took them over to, "Yeah, we need some pictures because and now I repeat what I'm saying. What they said to me, I repeat to them. So, okay, you want to get some pictures because you have events that are coming up and you used to take pictures on your phone and selfies, and you realize that when they would blow up those flyers or send them, they didn't really look as good as the other pictures. So you want people to really view you guys for the professionals that you are. Is that right?" And then they say yes. So right throughout the dialogue with them, I'm getting them to tell me yes at multiple points in the conversation. But here's what most people do. When somebody says, "What's the price?" they're like, "Hey, oh yeah, like it costs $500. What costs $500? Do you need a makeup artist? Do you need us to figure out a curated location for what you're doing, they assume the value. They assume that the person knows what they want, and they assume that they need it. Remember, all clients are not created equally. This same client, if they were a, let's say like this person just got out of college and they're 25 years old and they're just starting their job, they probably won't pay $1,600 for a photo shoot because they don't have a need to do it. So if you assume the value, and the value just means, in this case, the difference that you're going to make in somebody's life. The difference that I was going to make in my client's life is I'm going to get them great pictures that blow their iPhone quality pictures out of the water because they've identified as a need. Not because I feel like, as photographers, we know the iPhone pictures are only but so good. But if they don't believe that, it doesn't matter if I believe it. Everything is about them. Notice, I haven't spoken about the amount of edited pictures that they're going to get. I haven't spoken about how many hours of a photo shoot that we're going to do. I haven't spoken about how many outfits we're going to shoot in a session. I haven't spoken to them about poses. All I've spoken to them about is, how important is this to you? How do you want people to react when they see your pictures? Okay. And then if we do this, would that be worth it for you? Yes. So if you assume what the client wants, if you assume that it's valuable to them, and you assume that they need it, this is where your pricing goes down. And then all the money that you could make, it goes down the drain. You actually lose favor with it. Imagine if you're a doctor and, you're going to visit the doctor and you tell the doctor that a dog recently bit you on your knee and you believe that the dog may have had rabies. And the doctor said to you, oh, just take some Panadol, or just take some Tylenol. You'd be like, what? But I just told you that the dog bit me and it may have rabies and my leg hurts. How are you going to give me Tylenol and you haven't examined the problem yet? That's what most of us do. We hear what we think the client wants, and then we tell them, oh, yeah, that's what you need. So you don't get to build any relationship with the client, and that means you can't really charge as much. So that is one of the keys. Now, there are 4 things that really help you to determine price, right? So that, she joined me on the camera. Yes, this is good. Right? So there's 4 criteria that clients we call this value, right? So value can be measured in this equation, right? So their ideal goal or their desire. So what does the person want? Then how likely is it that you could help them achieve it? So if you're a great photographer, you're more than likely going to be able to help them get great pictures. But this is where most photographers focus. They focus on better lighting, more gear, more Photoshop, more edits, more stuff. But here's what they don't focus on. They don't focus on their turnaround time. So most photographers, when you ask them what their turnaround time is, oh, it's 10 business days. Those days are gone. When a client asks me, hey, Jordi, so if we do these pictures today, when am I going to get them back? 3 days. And what I used to do for clients, I used to tell them, hey, if I don't get these pictures back to you in 3 days, I give you a full refund. And they'd be like, really? I'm like, yeah. And guess who was not trying to give them a refund? Me. So it forced me to be more accountable, because here's what happens. We take the pictures, we may or may not upload them to the computer, and then we close the computer, watch TV, we may do another shoot, we roll over in bed, or we look at the date when we said we're going to give it back to them, and then 24 hours before we need to send the pictures out, something is like, oh yeah, the pictures. And then we go in Lightroom, go in Photoshop and do whatever, get the pictures together, and then send them out. Maybe not you, Hillary, but a lot of people do that, right? So how long will it take? People, we're selling services. So there's no label on the box that says you're going to get it back in this time. So some of the things that weakens the sale is when you're not being very clear about when you're going to get it back. I've even taken it to the point where the day after the photo shoot, my client gets a message letting them know, just to remind them, this is the date when you're going to get the pictures. Because sometimes they forget. Next part is the amount of effort and sacrifice. Meaning, do I have to find the location? Do I need to book my own makeup artist? Do I need to pick my concept? Do I need to do all of this? Do I need to format them to upload it to my website? That's all effort and sacrifice. And chances are your client doesn't want to do a lot of this stuff. So if you are working with a client that has pictures that they're going to use for their website, for social media, and flyers, one of the things that you may be able to offer to them is web-sized images. And all you have to do is just check a box in Lightroom that says, make these for the web. Same pictures, but now they feel like they're getting more because they're like, oh, this person took the time to think of. So now all they have to do is send it to their web designer or themselves. And now they don't have to compress the pictures themselves. The thing is, most people focus on here. They're like, yeah, like I'll be able to take great pictures and I'll be able to get you 10 edits and they sell the time, they sell edits. When I'm doing sales call, I don't sell my time. Because if I can get you what you need in 1 hour and I'm going to charge you like $600, $700, that is exactly what I'm going to do. And you're not going to get an hour out of me more. You're going to get 1 hour because the value is really what the other person wants. Does that make sense so far? Right. Right. So that is value, right? So far we've covered how to increase the overall pricing of your session. We looked at how to decrease the price and lose money by making assumptions. Don't make assumptions. And then we looked at the value, right? Now, the next part comes in when we're looking at who it is that we're serving. And I'm actually going to rewrite these because most people target everybody, and I'll actually just go down here, right? So there's 3 photographers. Photographer 1 is a portrait photographer, which most photographers call themselves. Second one is a wedding photographer. And the third one is a commercial photographer who specializes in campaign launches. The generalist photographer, he does a lot of different things. She does a lot of different things. She does a maternity shoot, a baby shower, a party, a sweet 16, a this, a that. And when he or she advertises her services, they put 10 things on the list, hoping that people will buy one of them. They don't make a lot of money every month. They're frustrated and they aren't able to charge a premium because if a bride-to-be is looking for a photographer, they're not going to look for a portrait photographer. They're going to look for a wedding photographer. Now, the thing with the wedding photographer is that he or she still does a lot of different things. So she's going to do small weddings, large weddings, some destination weddings, maybe an elopement, maybe a private wedding. Like there's still no specialty, but because they've chosen the market, if this person can make $10, this person can make $100 for argument's sake, right? This person can make $100 because they have decided that they're going to be a wedding photographer. But it's still very general because you can have a low-end wedding that gets done at a courthouse with a family and friends of five that is not really a lot of money. And you're laughing because you know it's true. Or you could have a large wedding with a couple who the husband is an engineer and the wife may be a lawyer, and they have a high income bracket, so they have more money to spend, and they have a large family. They care about special moments, and then you can command a higher price premium for that. But because this wedding photographer hasn't specialized in one of those areas, they still take a lot of different things. So one month they have a great wedding. And the thing about good clients is good clients refer other good clients. Bad clients, and when I say bad, I mean they pay you a little bit amount of money, they want a lot of service, and then they hold you by the neck until you could get it to them. They're like, oh, hey, look, I'm spending this money, like you need to answer my phone at 9 p.m., even though you may be sleeping and it's not business hours. And when I text you at 7 a.m. in the morning, but because you want to do a good job, you do a good job, they are going to refer people that are just like them because birds of a feather flock together. And that is one of the truest statements that I've experienced in my last 10 years. Now, we have our good old commercial photographer who specializes in campaign launches. So they do e-commerce store launches, they do physical store launches, and they shoot ad campaigns. This photographer, when an established store is looking for somebody to help them open up their second location, this is the person that they're going to call because they know that this person has done, like, who would you trust? Would you trust the surgeon that's doing their first surgery, or would you trust the surgeon that's on their 50th surgery? Huh? 50th, right? Because the one that's doing it for the first time, you're like, hey, look, you might miss my heart and then puncture my lung and then, and then it's over, right? It's the same thing with specializing. So I understand that specializing may feel boring because it's like, you don't want to do the same thing over and over and over again. But this doesn't mean that you can't take other clients. This just means that there's a specific client that you're going after that has the money, they can't afford it, and they value it. And when you work with them, they send you the money, they pay on time, and they're happy with the work. I remember when I first started doing sessions for like $600, $800 an hour, and then that would be like $1,000 an hour, or like $2,500 for like 2 hours. I would feel so guilty because I would say to myself, I'm only doing this for 2 hours. The, the job is done and it feels easy because I'm associating making more money with working harder. But the thing is, it's easy to make a lot of money in a short amount of time than it is to make a lot of money over a long period of time. It's easy to make a lot of money in a little bit of time than it is to make a lot of money over a long period of time. And when you work with people, like my biggest recommendation of people is work with people that have money. Jump off the struggle bus. Everybody is not your client. Stop being a portrait photographer because portrait photographers, they are part-time, they hang on to their job, and they don't know what the hell they're doing, and they do not grow as fast, right? So there's four things coming to the end of this. There's four things that are going to be very important when you pick your market. Making sense so far?
Yeah.
right? So here are the
Yeah,
four
man.
things.
Let me know if you can hear me.
Yep. I can see you and I could hear you. It's a good day today, right? So how do you pick, and I just call it profiling your $1 million client because that is my brand as the $1 million photographer. So dream client, client persona, client avatar, they all mean the same thing. So are they in pain? Meaning, do they need your service and do they need it bad? For example, if I am launching a website in the next 4 weeks and I don't have good images to go with my launch, I need the service. I need it now because my graphic designer is texting me every day to get new images because they do not like the iPhone pictures that I'm sending them. Are they in need? Next, and this part, people overlook it because they want to be nice. But next part is, can they afford it? Everybody can't afford your service. And that's really just what it is, right? So do they need the service and can they afford it? Meaning at any given time, anybody that comes your way, they're gonna fall into a few different categories. So do they have the purchase? So they can be in pain, but they can't afford the service. So that automatically disqualifies them as a good prospective client. Third criteria that I always look at is, are they easy to find? So they could need it, but this could be a type of client that's not really easy to find. This could perhaps be a client that is a rare shoot. Like, let's say you're doing an elopement, right? And this is an elopement for a couple that wants to do a private getaway. They're not impossible to find, but the and I'm just making this up because this may not even be true, but just for the purposes of the argument here, they may be able to afford the service and they may really want it, but now you have to dig through a lot of different people to find that specific group of people that want to do elopement weddings, as opposed to if you are somebody that works with business professionals. There's your local chamber of commerce. There's online business directories. There's events that you can search and Google, and you can attend these events and be around those people. Those people are easy to find. Or if you're looking, like, let's say you're working with high school kids, are they easy to find? Yes. Do they need the service if they're doing prom? Yeah. Can they themselves afford it? Probably not. So instead of going after the kids, one strategy may be to go after the parents of these kids because the parents are the ones that are making the financial decision. The last part that is absolutely important is the market size for these people growing or shrinking? I do not want to work with a group of people that the amount of them are not growing. For example, I did a headshot session with a new realtor about like a few like months ago. And he just got his license and he wanted headshots because he wanted to update his LinkedIn and update his profile on his real estate website. Every year, there are at least 10,000 new realtors that enter the market and get their license. So this group of people, are they easy to find? Yes. Can they afford it? In most cases, yes. And are they in need? Are they in pain? Yes. So that is a market that I would go after. And you can run almost any type of shoot through this process to determine whether or not it's worth your time. So let's say somebody in your local community wants to do a birthday photo shoot. Are they in need? Right? I'm just gonna grab this. Are they in need? Is it a need? Not really, because in most cases, most people don't do photo shoots every single year. So this is more of a want. Like it may be a really, really big want. So I give them half a check mark, like they don't get the full thing. They get half a check mark because they may really want it, but they don't get the whole thing, right? Like there's a gap. They don't really need it. They may just really want it at that time. And then after that, it's gone, right? Can they afford it? Yeah, because people are always in need of sorry, can they afford it? It depends on the type of job they work, their living situation, spouse situation, how many kids they have, and then how much they really value it, right? So I'm gonna put this part into, I'll give them a yes. Now, are they easy to find? It depends on how much work you're willing to put in to find people that want to book this. So I'm going to put, yeah, right? Now, here's the interesting part for this market. Is the market size for these people growing or shrinking? It's roughly about the same because people have birthdays every single year. But the biggest factor is over here on this side of the equation, where they may not need the service every year. So people typically celebrate milestones, 16, 21, 30. They skip 40 and go to 50 and then 60. So if this is how you're going to build your business, chances are that if it's just strictly built off of birthday shoots, it's probably not going to be a good strategy. That is how I decide what markets I'm going to pick and who I'm going to work with. And the minute that they don't hit all of these criteria, more than likely, I'm going to say no to the opportunity to work with them. So to recap everything that we covered today is, what do you do when a client says, what's the price? You ask them, what do you need? And then you let them talk. Most of the sales calls that I do, and I'm like, sales can be nerve-wracking because a lot of the times we believe that we need to know what to say, how to say it, when to say it, etc. But when you're doing sales, all I do is ask questions. And I have a transcription service that shows you how much percent I talk versus how much percent they talk. My clients talk for 70% of the time, and I just ask questions. So why do you want to do this? When do you want to do this? And then they talk. And then I'm listening. Oh, wow. So this is your first time doing it? Oh, wow. So what makes this time different? Oh, well, this time is right. Like I just met them talk. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is this to you? Oh, well, it's a 9. Like, it's a 9. Why not lower than 9? And when you ask people why not lower than 9, they're going to justify it to you. And then we're like, well, it's not lower than a 9 because da 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 da. And then I take their reasons and I ask them a follow-up question. And then based on then I repeat what they say to me. After I do that, that is where you get into these 3 fundamental questions. What do they want? How valuable it is to them? How soon do they want it? And that is how I book that shoot for $400 an hour. And that is how I continue to book premium value photo shoots for any client that comes in through my door. So I hope that helped. And I'll open it up for any questions that you may have on anything that we just went over.